Good afternoon. This is Bob Joyner coming back at you with a look at the Forex trade alerts and Forex trends for the week that begins on April the 30th. And I'm trying out some new technology today and trying to make this produce live, so we'll see how that works out. First, going to go back to last week's alerts. If you remember, I focused a lot of attention on the British pound, and so it's going to go over these charts here. What you're looking at, just so you know, is a daily chart on the left panel and a 4-hour chart on the right panel. I'm not going to get into all the other indicators that are shown on this chart. There are others that are not shown that I'll also use, so not going to make an extremely long video by going through all that, but just want to point out that on the 4-hour chart, the video from last week was recorded, of course, on the 23rd, so right in this area of here on this 4-hour chart is where you can keep a focus to see what happens. So if you recall, on the British pound, I mentioned that all those I considered to be oversold, and I expected all of them to go higher. Potential gain here on the British pound versus the Aussie dollar, it's 400 pips over the past week. British pound over the Canadian dollar, mentioned that as being one of the stronger pairs, if you recall in that video, and as you can see, we moved up about 500 pips over the past week. British pound, Swiss franc, didn't move quite as much, but still a nice bullish move so far, 160 pips. British pound versus the Japanese yen, I mentioned that we might hit some overhead resistance. That was the only one I wasn't quite sure about. I had drawn this red box in here, and of course we just plowed right through that, moved up 450 pips from this recording last week. British pound, New Zealand dollar, 650 pips, by far the strongest mover in this group that I mentioned. And then the British pound versus the US dollar moved up 150 pips from that recording. So overall, a very strong week and worked out pretty well, as you can see here. If you recall, I did not mention the euro versus the British pound. That was the only British pound related pair I did not mention in last Sunday's video. But I did come back in on Tuesday and offered an update and mentioned this daily chart that I didn't think we were going to be able to move above this R2 line, right up in here on the left panel. And I posted that fact in the Facebook group for Forex Trade Alerts. And since that point, it has come down 100 pips, as you can see. So nice little move on the euro versus the pound. As you can see, we resisted this overhead area of the Kumo here, as I mentioned we might. Also going to mention the fact that the euro Aussie continues up. I'd mentioned this one as a possible that it might possibly find support in here instead of breaking through that area. It did not break through that area of the Kumo about 2 weeks ago. We continued up, and it still qualified as a long in my view. So what's up now for next week? All those pairs continue to be trading in the direction. Of course, on our 3-panel chart here, this indicates a longer term trends, and as you can see, euro and the British pound both very bullish in here. New Zealand dollar very bearish, CAD pretty much bearish. Okay, but our strongest currencies by far are the British pound and then the euro dollar at this point. If we look at the middle panel here, there are a couple things I would highlight. The Aussie versus the Swiss franc is showing to be overbought at this point. That's what this series of check marks here means, and we'll look at that chart in just a second. Aussie US dollar is the same way, so we'll look at that one. And New Zealand dollar versus the Swiss franc down here doesn't have 6 check marks all the way across. Has 5, but we'll take a look at that one as well. And then I consider oversold to be euro versus the Canadian dollar, even though it doesn't have all 6 check marks here. This indicates actually a strong trend right here in the middle. And then the euro versus the US, kind of similar, doesn't have the 6 check marks, but also consider that slightly oversold right now. So let's go ahead and dig into those charts. Okay, so here's the Aussie versus the Swiss franc. I mentioned that I thought it was overbought. Not in a huge amount, but right now this red line constitutes the daily marker that I feel is important, and I think that we're overbought up in here, up at this R1 line. Aussie US dollar, also think that we're overbought right now. The red line again would be the line of shift in my view, but I'm seeing this R1 line right now somewhere just below 7,500 as the line of resistance. Also, New Zealand dollar versus the Swiss franc, I think that's just very slightly overbought here. Preference, of course, is to move higher up above that pivot area. Just not so sure that's going to happen. And then oversold, I consider the euro Canadian dollar. Again, not by very much. We'd like to see a bigger pullback here, and we don't have much of a pullback here this weekend. And then the euro US dollar also in a bullish trend and a little bit over sold right now, but again, not by much. You can see where we've come down to this green line and tested that, and so far finding support, and that's the line in the sand for me right this minute. So hope this review of the currency trends is helpful for you. If you traded last week's trade alerts, then you had a very strong week. Hopefully some of you did that. And of course, if you want to see more of the past couple of weeks of videos, if you want to go back and see if what I'm telling you is the truth, then you can go to this page right here on the screen right now. And just a quick note, this video was pre-recorded on Sunday just to ensure accuracy before I went live with this new technology. Hope you have a great weekend and week coming up. All right, thanks.